So today I'm going back and using our textbook. I know we haven't used it in a while, and I'll be interspersing it with a couple of other things that I want you to know. So if you're looking anything up, we'll be on chapter 5, lesson 3. This is comparing and ordering integers. So let's take a step back and review some symbols first. You usually are really good about where to put these, right? You know that the pointy part is the smaller number and the open part is the bigger number, like the alligator mouth, the bird beak. But when you're asked to read it, sometimes that can be a little tricky. So here's my hint: read the symbol like you read a word. In English, we read words from left to right. So I'm going to do the same thing for the symbol. And the first part of the symbol that I see is what I'm going to say. So in this case, the first part that I see is the point. This symbol would be read less than. For this case, the first part that I see is the open part, so this symbol would be read greater than. All right, it's just my little hint for you. Whatever you see first is what you're going to say. Okay, let's talk about comparing and ordering integers. So we know we have our number line, right? We've got zeros smack dab in the middle. Our positive numbers are over here to the right. Our negative numbers are over here to the left. The further left it is, the smaller the value. And the further right it is, the greater the value. Okay? Now, think back to when you just knew the positive numbers. You knew that the numbers down here were smaller than the numbers up here. The exact same thing applies with negatives. The more this way, the smaller it is. Now, the number might get bigger, right? 3 is bigger than 1. But if you think about your bank account and you owe someone $3, you have less money than if you only owe someone $1. Okay, so if you are comparing and you have a positive number and a negative number, don't even think about what the digits are. You're going to compare the signs. Positive will always be greater than negative. Now, if you've got two positives, you've been comparing those since you learned about numbers. If you've got two negatives, we're going to talk about some strategies today on how to put them in order. Now, if you are the type of person that wants to follow along and write in your book, I'm going to be on page 364. If you prefer, just watch the video. I'm going to go through and write everything for you. Okay? It's just a personal choice. All right, so let's take a look at this. One of the ways that you can do this to compare or put them in order is to use a number line. So let's compare the number 12 with the number -4. I have $12 in my pocket. Somebody owes $4 to their friend. Okay, that negative means that you owe money. You can put a dot at -4 and a dot at +12. I made them a little bit bigger so you could see them. Down here is a smaller amount than to the right. So -4 is the smaller number. You might also just look at the signs. We said that positive will always be bigger than negative. Okay, let's do a couple more here. We've got -3 and -5. Well, that sign trick's not going to help me because they're both negatives. So let's put them on a number line. I'll do it in red. This -3 would be here, and -5 would be down here. Well, which one is further to the left? The -5, which means that -5 is smaller than -3. Okay, we've got -5 and 0. 0 doesn't get a sign, but you know that negative numbers are smaller than 0, right? So without having to worry about the digits, I know that -5 is less than 0, just by definition of negative. And then our final example here, we're comparing +6 and -1. Positives are always going to be bigger than negatives, so I can say 6 is greater than -1. Something you're going to notice when the signs are the same, the bigger the number, the farther it is from 0, right? So go back to elementary school. If I compared +3 and +5, 5 is further away from 0, right? Which means there's more positiveness. So 5 will be bigger than 3. Negatives make everything do the reverse, do the opposite. So 5 is bigger than 3. That's true. It's further away, But in this case, it means it has more negativeness. -5 is actually a smaller amount than -3. If you think about temperatures, I know they're close, but -5 is colder than -3. It's less. Keep that in mind. Okay, let's talk about a word problem. Justin has a score of -4 on a trivia game. Desiree's score is -5. Write an inequality, these things are called inequalities, to compare the scores, and then explain the meaning of the inequality. All right, so I know, and I don't want you to see what's under here, I know that I have a -4 and a -5. Those are the two scores that I'm comparing. Inequality, in means not, so these are not equal. Well, duh, 4 and 5 have never been equal, even with the negatives. I need to decide which one is greater. Well, if I think about temperatures, -5 is less. If I think about negativeness, -5 is more negative than -4, right? It's further from 0. So it's -4 is greater than -5. Maybe that means that Desiree won because she had a lower score. Maybe that means that Justin won because he was closer to 0. They didn't really tell us the rules. That was not a fair comparison. All right, let's talk about what happens when you've got a list of numbers that need to be put in order. One method, so here's our list, set, and they use the little like squiggly brackets, these things, to say that it's a set because it's a different symbol than parentheses. So our set, our list of numbers is -9, 6, -3, and 0. And we're asked to order them from least to greatest. Now, it's real tempting to just go, oh, I'm going to count 0, 3, 6, 9. No. Nope. We know that the negatives, or owing somebody money, is a much different situation than the positives, or having money in your pocket. So one method is to use a number line. Put a dot at -9, a dot at +6. I'm making these a little bigger so you can see them. A dot at -3, and a dot at 0. And then I'm simply going to rewrite them in the order I see the dots. So I see -9, I see -3, right, coming up the number line. I see 0, and I see 6. If you want to get fancy and put the set marks back around at the brackets, that's fine. Otherwise, just give the list, right? That is the order from least to greatest. Now, if you don't happen to have a number line handy, or your numbers are too big that if you made a number line, you'd need a lot of paper, there is another strategy. Look at the negative numbers first. So in this case, I've got -9 and -3. I know negatives will always be less than positives, so I'm going to deal with them first. I only have two numbers right now to compare. I know that -9 is farther from 0, which tells me it's going to be less, right? It's a colder temperature. I have less money, whatever you think of it as, all right? So those two would come first, -9 and -3. Then I can tackle the positives, and in this case, 0. So I'm going to compare 6 and 0. Well, think back to your elementary school days. That's a no-brainer. 0 is less than 6. So 0 would come next to my list, followed by 6. All right, so you can do it with the number line. You can do it just thinking of it and using some logic. Maybe you don't draw out the number line, but you're kind of picturing it in your head. That would work also. All right, let's do an example down the bottom. Order the set -4, 3, 11, -25 from greatest to least. Pay attention to the words there. So in this time, I'm going to start with the positives, right? All right, let's say I wanted to do these on the number line here. Now, my numbers don't match what I'm given, so I'm going to have to do some estimating. I see -4. That would go right before the -5. I see +3. That's going to go about halfway in between 0 and 5. 11 is just a little bit past 10. And the -25, we luck out, and that's right on the line. Now, greatest to least, I'm going to start at the right and list them going down. So it would be 11, 3, -4, -25 from greatest to least. If you didn't have a number line or you don't like using the number line, take your positive numbers first. Out of 3 and 11, which one's bigger? 11. So that goes first and then the 3. Then talk about -4 and -25. Out of those, which one is bigger? Which temperature would be warmer? Well, -4 is warmer than -25, so that would be your order. All right, one more. Order the set. Oh, we got 5 numbers this time. From least to greatest. So now we're talking smallest to largest. All right, number line. -18, +30, +12, -6, and +3 is going to go halfway between 0 and 6. So then I can just list them in order. -18, -6, 3, 12, 30. Put some squiggles around it for the brackets. If you were ignoring the number line, I would take my negatives first and say between -18 and -6, which one is less, which one is colder, since we're starting least to greatest. So that would give me my -18 and the -6. Then I've got 3 numbers to compare. I've got 3, 12, and 30. Well, go back to your elementary school days, put 3, 12, and 30 in order, and there you've got your full list. Okay, so you've got several different strategies on how to order and compare numbers. You can use the signs, you can use a number line, you can think about an example like temperature or money in your everyday life.